I look at everything I have and try to figure out how can I give back, and that includes my time, my energy, my money, everything else, right? And in the most rigorous, exhaustive way I can do it. But I'm an extreme person. Other people don't got to do this. But that's my mentality, is try to give everything I have, you know?
Our special guest for this special interview is Peter Rex. He's the founder and CEO of Rex, a wildly successful Austin-based technology company. The title of our conversation is Step Aside, Silicon Valley, a vision for Texas as the leader for new tech. As you will see, Peter is a happy warrior and always looking for innovative ways to leverage technology to better serve people. He has spent time in the heart of Silicon Valley and recently moved his company from the West Coast to Texas because of his desire to build a new technology ecosystem built on a model of servant capitalism. He's a devoted husband, father, and an all-around great guy. So could everyone please help me welcome Peter Rex. So Pete, you've been on a crusade about your vision to see Texas as the premier state for technological innovation. Can you share with our friends in the audience your vision for Texas-driven new tech?
Yeah, well, first of all, just thanks for having me here, and thank you to TPPF. Great leadership by them across the board. It's really consoling to know we have a group like this, you know, at the leadership here in Texas, which Texas itself is becoming the leader of really the free world now, it looks like. So the only thing I have a little gripe on with everybody here from Texas, I've been here for about a year and a half, is no one really warned me about these weather swings. So, so, you know, yesterday I was driving around in a convertible, sweating with a t-shirt on, going to, you know, some meetings here and there, you know. And, you know, today I'm like freezing my toots off, you know. So I'm like, what's going on here, you know? So, but, yeah, so, you know, to jump into things, I think everybody knows that tech is a big problem. And it's also, but my message is one of hope here, and there's real hope, but it's not, you know, I'm not going to provide any easy solutions, which I think are really what the current solutions on the table are. The solution I'm proposing is that we need to build new tech leadership, and we need to build a new tech ecosystem. And since you guys are all, for the most part, Texans, I guess, and even if you're not, you're probably going to would be somewhat aware of this, is the way we were able to really get freedom from the oil cartel was from fracking, which was innovative technology that we applied to energy. And I think that's, you know, that's a huge reason why I think we've been able to pull out of the Middle East and some of those entanglements over there. It certainly had a lot to do with it, I think. It wasn't just I don't think it was the beautiful weather drawing us over there and stuff like that, right? So, but that wasn't done easily. It wasn't like that we sat back and we said, okay, we need a refinery, or we just need a pipeline, or we just need shipping or something, right? It was a whole ecosystem needed to be created, and it was, if anybody's been out to the Permian Basin, Midland area, you could just see what was done there, and also with the connection throughout all of Texas, people stepping up, capital, density of talent, things like that. That's what we need to do in technology. We need to build a new tech ecosystem, and what I'm working on is doing it out of Texas. Obviously, we need help doing this, and that doesn't mean, you know, helping and investing with people like me. It also means, what I'm really saying is back people of a similar ideology that are about the American ideals, that are about preserving and fighting for faith, family, and freedom, which are things dear to the heart of Americans and the heart of Texans as well, and why our ancestors came here to begin with. So, and technology, I mean, just to mention a few things here of why I think we need a new ecosystem, and then I'm going to point to a couple of the solutions being proposed by people and why it's not going to get to the heart of the disease, the problem. But basically, when I say an ecosystem, you know, if you think about it, the problems we have with tech are not just Twitter and Facebook. That is a problem. They're messing with our communication ability, our ability to see unvarnished opinions of other people in the current public square, which is online. So that's a huge issue, and that interfered with our ability to operate as a democracy in the last election. We saw that leading up what was happening there. But that was just kind of on public stage for everyone to see. But they've been doing this stuff behind the scenes for a while, and they, you know, put into their algorithms, their biases go into that. And it's a very biased environment out there in Seattle and San Francisco. And beyond Twitter and Facebook, to finish my point here, is that we have, you know, your payment rails, Stripe, Visa. Stripe is a new technology company around payments that's gotten very big. And Visa, they're both located out in Silicon Valley as well. You have problems from them as well, blocking people, deplatforming, not allowing them to make payments. You also have issues where you take a look at your ability to store your data. And you could store it, you know, in a server in your closet, right? That's old school. But the reality is if you really want to be cutting edge and you want to use technologies to further your business, you're going to have to use things like AWS, which is run by Amazon, or Azure run by Microsoft, or Google Cloud, Google Cloud run by Google. And the issue with these companies is that they're also deplatforming people, and that's where you keep your data and you rely upon for your business. And then your phones, really there's two options, Android, which is run by Google, or the iPhone, run by Apple. Anyways, long story short, all these companies are located in Seattle and San Francisco that have become increasingly intolerant and biased, and I think everybody knows that. So I'm mentioning it just to bring it fresh to your mind, the problem and what it is, but I'm also mentioning it so that people understand the complexity of the problem. There's not going to be a simple solution here. So getting out and regulating big tech and breaking them up and all this other stuff, it's good. You'll treat some symptoms, and that's a good thing, right? So but it's not going to solve the problem. The underlying problem is we have a whole technology ecosystem, almost like a tech cartel, and we need to build a density of capital, backers, investors, and a density of talent, and we got to do it elsewhere. So my proposal is doing it out of Texas. I think is the best alternative, the best place to build something like this, because it has a very different type of culture here. It's a culture rich in people who value faith, family, and freedom, and which was what drew me here as well. And when I was out on the West Coast with the company, and I moved here about a year and a half ago, and I was probably like one of the first people to do it, actually, as far as technology leaders go. But I realized that building a company over the long term, and my vision is to build for 60 years into the future, hopefully if I live that long, provided my wife doesn't kill me or nothing like that, So, but, I only heard the women laughing about that because they're, they got their own little way about how they get to you, But but when I think about over the long term, really your company is controlled by employees, right? And in the long run, and you can see this with Twitter, right? Jack Dorsey is actually somebody who probably would want to keep things open and free, but ultimately Twitter is controlled by his employees. And if you're out there, these employees they basically are very radicalized left and intolerant, really. So, and that's the issue. That's why you're not going to see any change with the new leadership there. And I think even he had a lot of problems even trying to keep it under control, obviously. And if you look at Facebook, if Mark Zuckerberg suddenly has a conversion or something, or, he has an epiphany and he decides he's going to try to, respect people's dignity, their right to privacy, things like that, not be sneaky. If that suddenly happens, great. It's not going to matter, though, because his company is controlled by his employees, and that employment base right now is in an area that's heavily become intolerant and radicalized. So we got to build somewhere else. I'm the only person I know of with this idea, by the way, so I'm trying to explain it out pretty thoroughly to you guys so you can come along with me on this idea. But it's the only idea I know of that I've heard of that makes full sense. Because if you break up, these tech companies, what are you going to get, 50 Facebooks? That going to solve our problem by breaking up Facebook? I don't think so. And if you, if you create another, Trump media, right? A one-off, go direct head-to-head, a lookalike media or whatever you want to do, a lookalike Facebook, lookalike Twitter, that's not going to solve the issue either. We're still going to have, now it's still good, by the way, if these things succeed because it creates competition, so I don't want to downplay the importance of regulation. I did a while ago, I've tried to erase these memories, get a law degree, but like I said, I try to erase that memory. But so I do understand the law and the importance of it, but I am at heart an entrepreneur. And also I think, Americans are entrepreneurial and we're not into regulation as the ultimate solution. The ultimate solution has to be something of coming from the people, right? And that means entrepreneurship, and it's also empowering consumers. So we're going to need to get a standing ovation next on that, guys. So I have people planted to clap. So I'm kidding. No, thank you. I appreciate it.
And I'm also a recovering law school graduate, so I feel you. An area I'd like to pivot to is artificial intelligence. And you wrote a piece recently in National Review on artificial intelligence and sort of the potential friction between AI and humanity. And your argument isn't that AI is inherently bad, but that sort of flawed human beings that create AI are. Can you share with the audience why you think we need an AI Magna Carta, as you called it?
Yeah, absolutely. And really what I'd even say, I was picking on AI, going directly at that, because artificial intelligence, it's here, and it's getting stronger and more powerful, and it's a very powerful technology. And it's being that we now have computer vision, which is part of the artificial intelligence, which is the ability for the machines to see things, and it can see things better than humans can. And this is just here now. There's no longer speculation. It's been getting better over time, but now I think it's past the human eye capability of identifying things. So, and then the ability for machine learning and deep learning to pick up on stuff is phenomenal. It's unbelievable. It's far superior to what a human being can do in that area. Now, by the way, human beings are superior to the ones that created it. I'm not one of these AI is going to beat out humanity, but I look at it as a tool that's very powerful that we need to respect, and we need to make sure we keep it in check. And the current, proposals are, the current people looking at it are, but let me reverse back on the Magna Carta thing, is I mentioned Magna Carta because Magna Carta, and really I think you need a tech Magna Carta even more broadly, but I was picking on AI here on this article, but in National Review, but the Magna Carta was a breakthrough document essentially that set the stage for a check on tyrannical power and a check against centralized power essentially. If you read it, it's actually kind of amusing, some of the things. It's very specific. So obviously the king was pretty damn arbitrary and capricious, which we're seeing now with technology that has a lot of centralized power. So when you have centralized power, you need some sort of a check. So, and the Magna Carta, that's what it provided against the king in England, right? So we need to have a check against people with like-kind power to have a set of rules that they can't break. And it can't be something, like a Google thing of don't be evil. It's like, kind of corny, and then like, what the hell does evil mean anyways? So we got to define things better, because they think it's evil if you're out there expressing your opinions about your health or something, or about like who you want to vote for or what you think happened to, the president's son in Ukraine or something, right? So they think that's bad, So it's like, what the, how do we define what is good and bad? So we've got to define something a little bit better, more fleshed out. And hopefully, hopefully that comes about. If it doesn't, I might go out and just try to lead the way on creating something like that, or getting it going, or talking to smarter people than me to draft that out or something like that. But so we need some kind of a check on them. We need a Magna Carta type thing. And secondly though, and pair it up with this is, and it gets back to my first point of why I'm doing what I'm doing, which is leading the charge and trying to get people motivated to build a new tech ecosystem and do it out of Texas, is you also need good technologists that have good hearts, that are grounded in Judeo-Christian principles. And I've gotten some flack for saying that phrase, Judeo-Christian principles. But thanks. I'd probably get like booed off stage in San Francisco, but which I wouldn't care about. I'd stay on stage and tell them to, screw off. When I say Judeo-Christian values, when people give me flack about it, I'd say come up with a different phrase. You got to be able to point to something you believe in that is a restraint on you, like thou shalt not kill, whatever. These different things, right? You got to point to something. And if you just want to talk about, oh, I'm a very moral and valued person, I have all these values. Well, that's what they say out there, but what does that mean? I mean, 10 years ago, they were all about democracy. Now they're all about basically dictating things, right? And so I think, you need some people with actual grounded morals that you can point to. And I don't mean they have to be Jewish or Christian. I just mean Judeo-Christian values. They're time-tested and proven. We need time-tested and proven values in the hearts and in the beliefs of people leading technology.
So a phrase you used in there is decentralized, and I think that pivots over to the last area I'd like to talk about is an exciting area in the tech space is blockchain technology, and I think a lot of people associate it with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and stuff like that, but I think there are a lot of other potential applications of blockchain technology far beyond cryptocurrency. Can you talk about your thoughts on blockchain, decentralized, distributed ledger technology, and potential applications, the prospects of it, where you see that going?
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump right into that. Let me just preface this by saying I'm not somebody who just likes to talk, just talk crap, basically. I'm a doer, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm making moves. We've got 10 technology companies we've launched. So I don't want to just get up here and say stuff. Like, I'm coming out and saying stuff because, look, I got 4 kids. I got a family. I do care about the country. I care about the future of the world and humanity. So that's why I've come out and I'm in the media in general and saying things, because people got to stand up. And if just even one person stands up, well, look at what happened with like Joan of Arc. She turned the course of history again. So one person standing up is enough. So, but when it comes to jumping into blockchain, a lot of people, and I'm a big fan of blockchain. Look, I bought Bitcoin a couple Thanksgiving ago when it crashed. That's been 30x return. So I've had my eyes on that for a minute. I've been aware of it, and I had it sitting in escrow for like almost 2 years until it crashed, and I just moved it in. But I'm Bitcoin a million. I think it'll keep going up. But we don't want to get into that right now. But let me talk about blockchain. Blockchain is the underlying technology to Bitcoin that came up with Bitcoin essentially. But Now that application of that technology and how that works, let's leave that aside. Somebody else can explain it. I could explain it, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what we could definitely know that it can do. That's what matters, because then you can think about how you can apply it as an entrepreneur, as a person, as an innovative type person, right? Now, it's almost like if you think about the internal combustion engine, I don't know what the hell, how that works, but I know that you can put it in a car and it works, right? And I drive the car around. So I drive as fast as I can and try to avoid the police for tickets. But what can it do, right? Blockchain, what it can do that we know that it can do is it can massively lower the costs of a verified transaction between individuals. Massively lower those costs. So what does that mean if that can be the case? What that means is that what we're doing there is we're taking an old ledger system and it's turning into something that looks like the horse compared to the car. So with the car, I mean, it's just so far superior to the horse for moving around, right? So with blockchain, it's just so far superior to any other ledger system we've been using for accounting for things. And why does that matter? Well, that matters because you can then transact at a very low cost, knowing with a higher degree of confidence that you got what was given, and what was given that person held before. It's what they call in law like provenance of title. The title was transferred clearly. And it doesn't sound like it's like legalese, that's not important. Believe me, this is important, and also a lot of the costs around all transactions are just around verifying that it came from that person who had gotten it clean from somebody else. And there's tons of attorneys and county clerks that are engaged in this in the real estate area. And that's the area that we have launched a company in this area called OwnProp, because we're allowing the ownership of property to be democratized. So we can lower the transaction costs using blockchain, which we're doing. So we can take on investment, provided the SEC, gets the hell out of the way, and take on investment from smaller investors that would love to own pieces of prized assets that up until this point in history have been really the luxury of the rich. And real estate is it's a time-tested and proven area to generate and grow wealth. If you look at even the time of Julius Caesar, Crassus, one of the three of the triumvirate, richest guy in Rome, he made his money through real estate. This is not something new. Everybody knows it's an area that you can make a lot of money on. And the jewels of real estate are not owned by the people. They're owned by the rich only. And I don't have a problem with that, but the problem I have is that it's exclusive. I want to make it inclusive, and blockchain can do this. And that's what we're doing in OwnProp. And I'll give you an example of this, because it's a really easy one. Just a couple blocks down the road is a hotel called Hotel Ella. Has anybody ever heard of Hotel Ella? Okay, so we bought Hotel Ella a month ago or something like that. But anyways, I'm putting that on the blockchain, and it's going to get democratized, the ability to own it. So someone that works at that property, at that hotel, can own a piece of that. Now, that's prime real estate, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer that thing's going to go up in 10 years because you have a great downtown in Austin. You're next to the Capitol, so, for better or worse, a lot of government money. And we know Tech got a lot of money. Texas has a lot of money, so that's going to keep that money coming in. And you have University of Austin, Texas, which we're using one of their buildings here, just a block or two away. So that asset will just keep going up in value. But the difference is we're going to be able to open that up for people to invest. Now the SEC has to come along and open this up so entrepreneurs can do this type of stuff. But we have a clear path already to dealing with them. It's going to take us, a few months or so to get through it all. But we have legal people that are working on it and some of the company. But that's the blockchain idea that you mentioned to me. But there's other ideas on blockchain as well. There's some things around data that we're working on. But I can't disclose that because you got to be careful. You got to wait until you're off the ground with these things, because other people get the idea that from you and they'll just do the same thing. Lessons you learn in San Francisco. Because you mentioned one thing, that's a good idea. Next thing you know, there's like a startup 2 blocks away. You're like, what the heck? But we have some good ideas about data and securing people's data using blockchain. And we have a few other things, but we're not launching that yet. We've already launched OwnProp. That's one of the 10 companies we're building out.
So we have just a few minutes left. This is a question I believe was in the vein of what Kevin Roberts asked when you interviewed with him, and we seem to close a lot of these type of interviews. Is you opened with a message of hope and optimism, and I think that's something that we need desperately in this day and age when fear and anxiety and stuff seem to rule the day. But what gets you out of bed in the morning and makes you willing to get into this fight? You have successful companies. You could just sit back, relax, raise your family, but you're willing to get up every day and fight for what's right. What gets you out of bed every day to do that?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say my alarm clock usually gets me up, and but I don't usually get up too willingly. But but what really motivates me and drives me at the root of it, right, is at the very highest level, and I'm just to be open, is my faith, right? I do have faith in God and a belief of service and using my life as a gift. So I try to give everything. I look at everything I have and try to figure out how can I give back, and that includes my time, my energy, my money, everything else, right? And in the most rigorous, exhaustive way I can do it. But I'm an extreme person. Other people don't got to do this, but that's my mentality, is try to give everything I have, And so, but then how do we concretize that in a concrete way? Right now, it's technology. That's where I'm in, and it's through entrepreneurship, trying to create value there, and trying to get out and create a bit of a movement for people to get behind this type of stuff. Because when I say I bring hope, when I've messaged hope, I don't have a fluffy message though. Like I have a real message, and it actually has real hope in it. But you got to do stuff. You got to build. It's not going to just take care of itself. And if you don't fight hard for stuff, you lose it, especially when it comes to your liberties and stuff like that. And I think we know that through history. We know that, right? But there's no determination here. There's no fate that we're going to lose. Why can't we win? I mean, especially coming out of Texas. Yeah, we've got tremendous capabilities out of Texas. I was thinking at some point, once we get a new administration, what we could do is stop selling oil to California until they beg for it. But no, I'm kidding. I got friends in California, so good people out there. A lot of good people that are trapped. I got hit up with a friend recently who's pretty prominent in the media. And they were like, we're never moving here. And they just texted me 2 days ago. Her and her husband want to talk about, pros and cons of moving here. And Dallas versus Austin and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, yeah. I understand that. And I told you about that a year and a half ago. But you guys were like, nah, we're not doing that. So, but anyways, I think, so my real message of hope is that we can do this. And every one of you can have an impact by getting the word out, spreading the message of realistic hope that we can execute and we can pull this off. And by even spreading the message, just even organically telling people about it, that also helps because you get the word out, right? And that could be on social media as well. That could be just individually. Things like this. TPPF is a complete crusading group, right? And making things happen and getting things through the legislature, But individuals out here can help in that way. The other one is investors can back it. Entrepreneurial-minded investors that want to get involved can also get involved. And that doesn't mean just with me, other people as well. I don't want to be like all about everything I'm doing, which I am, but I'm also doing this, trying to promote just people getting involved. And Texas is a place that is a pioneering engineering culture. I think people probably already know that, but if you don't, it is. And much more so than people think it is, actually. And there's no reason why we can't create this. And there's a history even in Texas of creating technology and not just fracking, but you look at even in the software space and computers, stuff like that. You have Texas Instruments, you had Dell, Trilogy, stuff like this. So there's already stuff going on here. This is not we're not starting from zero. And then talent can also get involved. If people are talented individuals, they want to get involved. They can join companies like mine and push on things, right? So. Good.
Well, thank you, Peter. Where can people follow you? Where can they learn more about Peter Rex and your company?
Rex.com. So pretty easy to remember that. REX.com. And yeah, the last thing I would just say is a shout out to PPF to close it as well for their work and what they're doing and their leadership. And I mean, they're effective. They're optimistic, but they're effective. They get stuff done. And also, I just want to give a shout out to Governor Abbott also because, he's a governor of a very powerful state, very powerful economy, and very opposite to what you see usually happening. He's not grabbing for power, and he could have during COVID. So he's the opposite of a demagogue. He's a servant leader. And, I'm not like close with him. I'm just saying this because I think it's important we keep leadership like this in place because we definitely don't want the other type, right? The people that are populist BS and they get in power and they grab for things. So that's all I got. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.